So in response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we've seen some countries are pursuing more aggressively a clean energy transition, while others are doubling down on fossil fuels. And so that was an important impetus for this research, and we wanted to highlight the role that politics plays in accounting for this variation. And we do so by tracing back the political responses to the 1970s oil shock, as well as subsequent debates about how to respond to climate change. My name is Phillip Lipscy, and I'm a professor at the Munk School, as well as the Department of Political Science at the University of Toronto. The co-authors on this paper are from institutions across the world. So we have researchers based in the United States, in England and the Netherlands and Canada, and I also have an affiliation in Japan. And so it's very much a global collaboration. One striking thing about our research findings is that oftentimes, if you listen to even experts of climate change and energy transitions or non-governmental organizations and their policy advice, it tends to treat most countries as being very similar. And so similar kinds of advice is given to the whole wide range of countries in the world. And the thing that really stands out from our work is that the same policy prescription that works in one country context might not work in another, and understanding those differences is really critical. Broadly speaking, we find three different pathways to energy transitions. The first is a pathway through insulation. Government institutions allow policymakers to override certain kinds of opposition, whether it be from business interests or voters who are concerned about energy prices. The other mechanism is through compensation. Essentially, governments can reach deals with those who stand to lose from the energy transition and move forward through a broader set of policies that phase out less clean technology. And the third mechanism is a transition through markets. And we describe this as a path without government involvement. It's in some sense a failure of government intervention to accelerate a transition, and the government essentially allows the markets to determine what kind of energy transition occurs. So broadly speaking, our research talks about those three paths and what kind of politics determines which path different countries end on. So a good example of a country that pursued transition through insulation is France. And so France has had a very strong hand in the electricity and power generation sector over the years. And this has enabled France during the 1970s oil crisis to shift very dramatically towards nuclear energy. And similar policies are being discussed in France today. Japan was very similar to this in the 1970s, but an interesting contrast is something we observe in Japan, because the institutions have changed in Japan, and that's enabled greater pushback to energy transition policies in Japan. And so both in responding to climate change and in responding to the current crisis, we see Japan looking more like a market transition, that the government hasn't been able to push strong policies to transition the economy away from fossil fuels. One key lesson that we want readers to take away from this piece is that it's impossible to think about issues like climate change and energy transitions without accounting for the politics. And there's some great research coming out of the field of political science on this topic now. And so I hope this piece serves as a mechanism to connect some of that great work to scholars who are interested in climate change and other fields like the natural sciences and engineering and so forth.